All right, well, welcome everybody. It's so good to see you on this very warm night. Unfortunately, this weather is not too good for our gardens, hence it's not too good for our bees. Just wanted to know how many of you are feeding at the moment. Yes, is that pollen and sugar syrup? Yes, just nothing, is there? And most of you are on the plains? Who's on the plains? Yeah, so even on the plains you're having to feed fairly heavily. I'm in the hills and it's no good up there either. Has anybody got any honey this season? 1, 2, oh, there's a few of you. Spring. In the spring, okay. I've got one of the lone extractors and it went out for the first time last week. So it's been sitting in the garage the whole of summer and no one's borrowed it. So it just shows how bad things are really. But anyway, a few of you had a bit of a harvest, which is good. Welcome to our newbies tonight. I popped my head in there before and noticed there were quite a few new faces. Can you pop your hands up if you're newbies? Wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's wonderful. It's great to see you and we hope you enjoy our meetings. Always good to start with the beginners and then go on to the intermediates and then to come into the meeting. We have a really amazing speaker tonight that we're all dying to hear. Ben's sitting over here on my left and we can't wait to hear about what he's got to tell us. We also have Davide, who's one of our... Can you just stand up, Davide? Who's one of our videos for our development officers, and one of the videos comes to our meetings every month, so that if you've got any questions about Varroa, they're always here to answer your questions. Not only that they've just come back from the Eyre Peninsula, is it? Yes, so they're going everywhere. They've done so many different talks all around the state, and will continue to do that. And they will also come to your place if you're a bit worried about anything in your hives. So welcome, Davide. It's lovely having you here with us tonight to answer all our questions. Right, now, have we got any apologies tonight?
Julie Cavill.
Julie Cavill, okay, thank you. Just one tonight. And so at this stage, I think we'll just bring Ben up the front if we could and introduce him. Now I'll just give you a little bit of tell you a little bit about Ben. He's a very interesting young man. Ben is a molecular biologist, and I'm going to say it, bioinformatician.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been practicing that one all day. And he said he thought he might put people off if we said that word because no one would know what it meant. But he's worked for multiple universities and research institutes, so we're very excited to have him with us. He specialises in using DNA-based technology for environmental applications. Ben has worked on projects such as identifying DNA markers in barley relating to salt tolerance and developing methods to determine the age of animals from DNA. Most recently, Ben has started his own business, which is genomics, and I have some brochures up the front here, and I've actually given a few out already, to be more readily used in agricultural and environmental applications. Tonight he will be talking to us on honey and bee DNA testing. So please welcome Dr. Benjamin May from Genomic Biomarkers and Assays.
So I can see what I'm talking about. Well, thanks, Tricia, and the Society for having me. It's quite a privilege to be here and great opportunity to meet you all. As Tricia was saying, just started my own business, and what I'm just going to talk about in this slideshow is just at the start a bit more about, I guess, what we do, and then the majority of it is about how mostly Australian researchers are using DNA testing in beekeeping and honey. Oh, sorry, I didn't bring up the clicker.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is what we do. We mostly focus on agricultural, environmental and animal applications. So in the agricultural space, we work with farmers to look at the biodiversity in the soil. So if there's a low population of microbes, that might be an indication of the overall health might be low. We do a lot of bacteria and yeast testing in wineries, so this is to work out taste and appearance and spoilage within the production of wine. We'll talk about honey. In the environmental side, it's mostly eDNA or environmental DNA. This is a forensics-based method. I'll talk about that later on. And in the animals, we do things such as working out the age and sex of animals. This is to work out the overall population size, similar to how the government might do a census. And we also do a bunch of stuff with pets and livestock. So if we go to the next slide, we're Adelaide based. We operate out of a clinical lab called Genomics. So if you're driving down to Victor Harbour on the right-hand side, opposite the Flinders Medical Centre, in the big red building, that's where we're located. We have a wide variety of DNA technologies available, but what we mostly specialise in is custom projects. So no two projects are the same. We just try to help anyone really. If we go to the next slide. So what we mostly focus on is DNA sequencing. So for those who don't know, DNA sequencing is mostly trying to work out the sequence of the DNA, and this is highly important because it gets used to work out species, changes that might influence the animal or plant, and a whole range of applications. And ultimately, it's gotten down to the point where it's quite cost effective. So to give a comparison, in the early 2000s, it cost $3 billion to sequence a human genome. Nowadays, we do it for about less than 1,000 a bee. As a comparison, since its genome or all of its DNA is a lot smaller, it ranges around $500. So it's a big price drop from $3 billion to $500. And briefly, the way it works is we have these types of machines that effectively, in a crude way, are basically very fancy cameras. So what happens is that the DNA just gets replicated thousands, if not millions of times, and each time it sort of joins a DNA base, that's the AG, COT, it just takes the camera, and because once they join, they just flash a light, one of 4 colours. So there's just a camera taking photos all the time, and then this just gets converted into a text file with all the AG, COTs. And basically the technology is almost at the point, well, it is at the point, where you can just plug it into a laptop. So what happens in some parts of the world, to give an example, with the Ebola outbreak, they took this technology and they were able to see the changes in the DNA of the virus in real time. And this can give sort of an indication of how to approach the virus. So don't be surprised in sometime in the future you can sort of buy this off the shelf and plug it into your laptop. So if we go to the next slide, what we mostly do is environmental forensics. So similar in a forensics, in a human forensics situation like a crime scene, you can take swabs and work out from the DNA who was there. In an environmental setting, we're not looking for the criminal, but mostly what animals are currently present or were present within the area. So this mostly gets used with water samples. So what happens is you take the water sample, filter it down, and from that filter you can profile DNA. So generally speaking, the way it works is that there's genes that are present in all animals, and we're just looking at that sequence variation, and we compare that to a known database. Fortunately, in Australia, a lot of federal government agencies are updating the databases to occupy basically all species in Australia. So we're in a good spot in Australia in terms of using this technology. And basically, this is just showing, depending on what you're looking for, you just use a specific gene. So for example, if you want to look for fish, you use a gene called 12S. And if you want to look for bacteria, you use one called 16S. But yeah, that doesn't really matter. And if we go into the next slide, in terms of honey, in the last few years, this has been now being applied to bees and honey. So what you can do now is take a honey sample, just a few mils, extract its DNA, and from that you can work out if there's any bacteria using one specific gene, the plants that the bees visited. So this is just from the pollen that would be within the honey. And you can also work out what types of other insects. So if you wanted to do a blind one, it's probably not the best application, but if you didn't know what type of bees this honey came from, you can then submit a sample and work out the species of bees. And yeah, so this gets used to work out if there's any pathogens. It can be used for geographic origins, so if you have a database of the types of plants that might be within an area, you can sort of work out from the profile of the DNA in the honey where that sample might have come from. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So if we go to the next slide, to give you an idea of how researchers are using this is an Australian research paper. The map is in New South Wales. But basically what a lot of ecologists have to do is go out into the field, spend many days or weeks trying to basically map or collect as much information within the environment as a biodiversity assessment. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, there might be endangered species or plants that might get missed because they might be in rocky outcrop or in an inaccessible area. So what ecologists are trying to do now is take advantage of that, of pollinators that are able to basically go just about anywhere, take a swab of the pollen that might have been on the pollinators' legs, use the DNA sequencing to work out if there were any endangered species out there. So what these researchers have done is they took pollen from bees and they were able to work out where there were the different biodiversity of the plant species. So you can see where it's basically all blue in those, or if it's all one colour in those pie charts, there's a low biodiversity, and so that might be a region to target for restoration projects. So if we go to the next slide. So in terms of pathogens testing with honey samples, what used to get done, or what probably still gets done in a lab setting, is they take a sample and then you basically grow it up in the lab to see if there is a disease profile in there. That can be quite slow, it takes at least 48 hours, whereas a modern DNA test is basically a qPCR test, similar to the COVID PCR. In terms of time, it's quite rapid, it's done within a few hours, and I'll have a list at the end, but in short, when it comes to honey, there's quite a few pathogens testing that can now be done, and it's quite good. Let's go to the next slide. So one application of this technology where it can be used is to identify any adulteration in the samples. So with the DNA sequencing, you can work out from what plant species are in it. So if the sample has been topped up with, say, rice or corn syrup, there'll be DNA particles from that rice and corn within that honey sample. And so when you go to do the DNA sequencing, you can identify if it's been potentially adulterated with a type of syrup. What we're sort of doing at the moment is that the DNA sequencing is pretty an expensive technology, so we're trying to use the sort of rapid qPCR testing to make it a lot cheaper and accessible. So in the future you might just want to submit a jar of honey and then test if it's been adulterated or not. So what some researchers have done is showing that the method does work on rice and corn, and you sort of, it's not really shown well on this graph, but you can sort of calibrate the method to work out how much has gone into the honey sample, if that makes sense. Now if you go to the next slide. So in terms of sampling, as I sort of mentioned, you can take an individual bee. So what you can do is just pull the bee, take a swab, as similar to like a cotton bud between your ears, and just take the swab, and from that there'll be enough DNA to work out what plants the bees have visited. You can take a honey sample, which is quite non-invasive, but at most we don't really need 5 mils, it could be as little as 1 mil. And another method, which a few New Zealanders have developed, is a foster method. So what you can do is basically take out the hive and just take out a swab and just do a W pattern over it, and that would be enough to detect pathogens, plants, and different types of insects as well. So that's the sampling methods. If you go to the next slide, these are the type of DNA tests that are commercially available at the moment. So we have specific DNA tests for a bunch of pests and pathogens. And other plant species, the Manuka, that's just the New Zealand variety, so unless you're growing the one that's specific to New Zealand, you wouldn't test it. So they're the sort of cheap COVID PCR-like tests that we can do. We can do a range of population analyses, so we do a lot of that with other species, so if you want to see if other bees are moving around in the environment or one population is on the move, we can do that. And as well, the flower origin, that includes detecting all these different types of species of plants that were visited by the bees. Go to the next slide. And basically, this is the sort of information that you get. So it's not just a presence or absence. You get basically a number, and it will just it's a detection level. And we just have thresholds as well, so it can be sort of there's a low sort of detection of the pest or pathogen, or it could be very high. And what we basically specialise on is doing a lot of data analysis. So if you provide a lot of geographic information, we can do these spatial graphs as well. Anyway, the point is we can do a lot of custom analysis for you. And I think that might be good. Yes. But yeah, that's our information. We do a lot of agricultural stuff, so that's why my lab is out there. But the lab is located at Bedford Park, so you're always happy to drop off a sample or submit it through the post. And I think that's it. So are there any questions?
We've only got one microphone, Ben. Thank you. Phil?
Sorry, I'll shout.
You'll shout.
Well, you need to be on the microphone for that.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that other mic?
Okay, well, my question is about American Foundry. Some of us are required to submit an annual honey sample to be tested by Gribbles for our beekeeping registration. And I was wondering, is your test that you're saying is quicker than the method of growing up the bacteria in a culture in the lab? Is that, could that be an equivalent test to the annual honey test that we have to submit? Or, you know, I suppose PERSA has a deal with Gribbles. So are you, anyway, so the question is about American Foundry testing, particularly for annual registration of beekeepers.
Yeah. Is that coming through? I think it'll come through here.
Yes, I've tried to reach out to PERSA about accreditation with all these testing and whether or not that's allowed or not and would be suffice. I've not heard a reply. In terms of the actual testing, whether or not
That'd be common, of getting replies.
Not getting a reply.
yeah, it's a bad joke. In terms of the actual test, it gets used, it's a commercial one, it gets used in New Zealand all the time, that's their standard one. The reason why you can't send it to them is because of their biosecurity laws, so that's why we've taken it up. So it's done routinely in New Zealand. In terms of if it's better than the alternative method, I'm not too sure, but it gets used in New Zealand all the time. The max price would be $75, but the price starts dropping once you start submitting more samples.
Yeah, this should work now. Oh, that's what I'm Oh, right, okay.
Ben, I have a question about the pollen sampling. Is that available to individual beekeepers? Can we submit a pollen sample to your business? And what's the cost and what's the turnaround time?
So, I'll get that working. The cost hovers around $150 to $180. We generally like to do batches of 12 at a time. So what we can do, we're happy to work with multiple groups at a time that might submit only one sample, and then once we've got 12, we run it. Just to get technical, the machine just requires 12 for the biodiversity of the DNA to get going. And turnaround time, generally, if you give us notice, we could probably get it done within 2 weeks, but generally it's about 4 to 6 weeks.
And the size of the sample?
Oh, if it's a honey sample, it would just be like 1 or 2 grams.
Pollen?
Oh, pollen. Oh, it's just a swab. Yeah, so if you're taking it from a bee sample, it can just be like that, or like in that Foster method, you just scrape it. It's, yeah.
Perhaps two questions, Ben. One is, have you been called on to test honey to find out if there's any adulteration of imported honey?
No, we haven't done that yet. So we are working with a few clients have reached out to answer that question. So hopefully we'll have an answer to that soon. So what we're doing is the DNA sequencing method, which is that $150, $180 one. And then if it does work, the next aim is to then develop the sort of cheaper $75 one for a specific adulteration. So if it's rice, corn, or whatever it may be.
And the second question in regards to, you've identified honeys, as in Manuka, and we know, are you measuring the activity level in honeys? The antibacterial, antimicrobial?
No, it's just the amount of DNA that came from the plant.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, with the Manuka one, I probably wouldn't really recommend it to anyone in South Australia. I think at best, from what my New Zealand business partners have told me, the plant might only be found in some parts of Tassie and Sydney as well. So take it with a grain of salt. So it won't pick up other Manuka species, if that makes sense.
You had that answer, Paul?
And are you a beekeeper, Ben?
No, but we have a bee bath that my mum calls, where a lot of bees, it's always swarming with bees. The birds don't go to it anymore.
This isn't particularly bee related, but you mentioned being able to determine population size. I'm just wondering how you would do that.
So the main two things, so you need a couple of things for animals, age, sex and kinship, so whether or not they're siblings, cousins, uncles, all the rest of that. It mostly gets used in fisheries, and you can do it in other species, it just takes a lot to develop. So if you were sort of interested in a bee setting, it would be quite a start-up cost to find all the DNA markers to begin with. So might be able to reach at this stage.
Okay, so this is actually, we'll have a chat to you afterwards.
Yeah, but it's the same sort of method that basically in the census, that the government would use. So when you fill out the census, you put in your age and sex information, and then that goes into a bunch of math models too, which probably is a bit out of my realm, to spit out an abundance, like in terms of population size.
This might be totally irrelevant and but I'll ask it anyway. Has anybody yet spoken to you about testing the DNA in bees that show resistance to Varroa? I know Varroa is very new in our country, but is there any conversation going on in regards to that?
I have in Queensland. They were sort of coming and arguing about that as well, because there was a funding opportunity as well. So the challenge that we had there was about getting honey across state borders, so whether or not it would be viable for us to go there and test it. So yes, but hasn't really progressed further than that.
Okay, no. Yes. Any more questions? They're all popping. Just go to transfers.
There's an AFB test that can be carried out where you can buy it. It's a bit like a rat test for AFB. Have you done any comparison testing on the reliability of that from your testing?
So there's a rat test as well. Oh, I didn't know that. So no, sorry, I haven't done that comparison yet. In terms, I don't want to run down the rat and be like, why DNA test her? But as you've probably done with your own COVID rat test and the sort of success rate of that, whether or not it's I think there's a false positive issue, but again, I can't really comment on that specific one.
My question, just building on what Mon was saying, a couple of years ago there was a national program called Plan B, where they were wanting people to submit drones to be DNA sequenced, hoping to identify in the breeding of bees certain behaviour traits. So linking a behavioural trait to something that could be identified in their DNA, and with the purpose of speeding up a breeding program. So instead of allowing a hive to be, observed over a full year, you might be able to sample some drones, sequence the DNA, and be able to identify what to breed from for a particular trait. Is there anything that you're doing that is of similar application?
Yes, in other species. We haven't done anything like that in bees yet. I've been looking in publicly available databases. There's nothing that I can find that's at least publicly available that goes, okay, this DNA marker is associated with this particular trait. We can develop those, find those DNA markers, but it would require a lot of, what's the word I'm trying to find? A lot of information. You need to get all that information about the characteristic traits to begin with. So it's not just a matter of DNA sequencing, you need all that extra information to begin with. But fortunately with bees, as I sort of mentioned, they have a small genome, so in terms of cost compared to other species, it's quite good.
I think some of the statistical interpretation of the DNA sequencing and particular traits were being done through the University of New England in Armidale.
Yes, I was speaking to Danny, I can't remember his surname. Yes, I think he mentioned the same one that you were talking about.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't think they've just made that information publicly available at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Any more questions? No. Well, I think you did very well answering those questions, Ben. You lost me a couple of times, but I had probably a few more too. But no, it was wonderful. So up the front here, if you're interested, we've got some brochures for Ben and some business cards. So please feel free to come and grab them if you're interested. I've given some to the other day. Who's our Varroa Development Officer, so he might be getting in touch with you too, Ben. So if you could thank you very much.
Now Ben, we've got some honey for you here. You can take it back and see if it's been adulterated. Work out where it's come from.
You could do your own testing on our honey, which comes from Tonsley. We've got an apiary down at Tonsley, probably not far from where you are. Yes, we're on Silver Avenue. No, probably a bit closer to town, so it comes directly from our hive. And then Bob, who asked one of the questions, creams it, and it's absolute to die for.
I'll have it on my toast.
Have it on your toast, but yes.
You can do some DNA sampling.
Yes, you could probably take it to work and do a bit of a sample, but hopefully it's all clear, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. That was fantastic. All righties. Now, Ben, you can stay or go, whatever.
I'll hang around.
You'll hang around. Okay, that sounds great. All right. So getting back to our agenda, we need to just accept the minutes of the previous general meeting. Could we have someone to move that? Thank you, Bob. And a seconder? Oh, thank you, Grant. Ollie, thank you, Grant. Is there any discussion on the minutes of the previous meeting? Any questions there? No? Okay, fabulous. All carried. Wonderful. Now, have you all seen the financial report that came out? Simon, our lovely treasurer, is in Korea with his wife's family, so we've got Lord Gordon and Ryan helping us today, but Simon's watching. so we better do it all right. Have we got that? Just yes. Could we have that up on the board, please, Gordon? Thank you. So we're looking quite nicely financial there. Any questions? You can get a more detailed financial summary if you would like. Please let us know. So any questions there? No? All right. Well, let's go on to the announcements, please, Mon. Oh, Bob's going to do the announcements today. Fantastic.
I'm going to do
Something. Monica, our president, has been in South Africa and she's really struggled coming back this way. It's terrible. It's not good on your body, and it's taken her about a week to get over the jet lag. She was going to bed at 3 a.m. and getting up at midday and a bit woozy in the head and not good, but she went to a game park and some of the photos she sent back were just beautiful. These gorgeous lions and elephants and cuddling a rhino. It was all looked wonderful. But it's good to have her back. Thank you, Bob. Now, this is Bob, for those of you that are new today, this is Bob, our guru. Any questions that you've got about bees, you can ask Bob and he can always answer them. So, thank you. There you go.
Thank you, Trish. Of the announcements, the first one on our field day is this Wednesday, and I just want to encourage people to come along to the field days. This particular field day, we're talking about disease management at Selvar Avenue, Clay Valley Park. And the format of the day, we will spend the first hour around a table in a reasonably nice environment, and then we'll go ahead out with the hives and we'll inspect the hives, or some of the hives, and reinforce what we've just had in the input session of information, looking at some of the hives with the intention of identifying what looks healthy and what is different from healthy. And then the third thing that we'll do on the day is I would like you to have a go at doing a low suds wash. We as a society have decided that we're going to, of the three options that we've got, you can do an alcohol wash, a sugar shake, or a low suds detergent wash. And we're using the format of a low suds detergent for a couple of reasons. One, it is not hazardous like alcohol might be around a smoker. And secondly, we are encouraged by PIRSA to stick to a format of testing by the same method all the time. And if you want to see variations, that if you're doing the test consistently, there's a better chance that you'll observe variations. So that's the field day. And look, I encourage you to come along. Pardon? Yes, there is only 2 people registered for this Wednesday, so there's plenty of space. The thing I want to reinforce for all of you is the opportunity to check your own bees. The more people who are doing it, the more eyes are looking for either disease or varroa, and Davide and the other BDOs are certainly encouraging us at least every 16 weeks to do a wash on our bees to determine the presence of varroa mite in our own hives. And the more eyes that are looking, the more chance there is of detecting it. And that applies not only to the varroa but to any disease. The more eyes that are looking, the more chance there are of detecting disease. And I certainly encourage you to take part in, come along on Wednesday to that one. The other thing, just to reinforce it, the next slide talks to us about join the Bee Pest Blitz this April. And PIRSA certainly encourage this Bee Blitz April is Bee Pest Blitz month, and this is not just a new thing. It has been for the last couple of years. April is the month when we do encourage you to determine the level of disease or look for or practice looking for disease in your hives. It's no use closing a hive, well, you don't close a hive off for winter. There's no use preparing a hive for winter unless you do an inspection for disease. So part of the preparation of going into winter is to have an autumn check for disease. PIRSA certainly recommend April as a month, and obviously the next one is when you come out in spring. So there are two of the updates that I want to talk about. And the third one, what's the next one? Here we go. The draft constitution is the next one that I can talk about. Tonight, the review period of our draft constitution ends. You may or may not be aware that you've had a month to look at our draft constitution and give feedback. And we've had a couple of comments of feedback, and one in particular, the comment has come in and it has been answered with a reply to go back to the person that asked the question, and no doubt we thank them, for their input. So anybody got any questions in regards to our constitution? So feedback time closes tonight, and then that means that we as a subcommittee, we've now got time before July when our constitution will ultimately be put to a vote of our membership, and at that stage, to accept our constitution, obviously we're going to be looking at a 75% vote in favour, and we do encourage you to participate in that vote, be positive about it, and we encourage people to do their homework and, for goodness sake, ask questions beforehand, so that the format on the meeting of July can be reasonably smooth and straightforward. Any questions you want to ask of me? Dr. Fieldgreen? No? Well, I'm going to have great pleasure in saying one. Holiday's over, I'll give you a microphone.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, the holiday's well and truly over, and if anybody's wondering why I've been sitting in the bleachers tonight and not being up front and centre as usual, it's because when I planned my holiday, I thought I might stay longer, and so I made arrangements for people to stand in for me both with the intermediate and also this evening, and then I didn't stay longer. I came back at my scheduled time, but as Tricia pointed out, I was struggling with jet lag, and then I was also, my heart was still in South Africa, so my heart wasn't here yet, and I was like, I can't be bothered, to be perfectly honest, but I am bothered tonight because I'm here. Okay, so we have a few more announcements, please. There we go. And the first one is, I want to give you a Sadiac update. Now, for those of you who are new or perhaps don't know, I'm one of two representatives that the Society appointed to the subcommittee called Sadiac, which stands for the South Australian Varroa Industry Advisory Committee. And basically our role was to advise PIRSA on the management plan for Varroa when it eventually gets here. One of the key achievements we had was to immediately advocate that we don't go into an eradication phase, we go straight to management once Varroa gets here, and I'm very proud of the fact that we got that one over the line. So in South Australia, no hives are ever going to be burned because you have Varroa. We're going to go straight to management. But what I want to point out to you, and it follows on from what Bob has been saying about the Pest and Disease Management Field Day, and the April Pest Bee Blitz month and so on. It's really, really important to do your pest and disease inspections. but also very important to be monitoring, doing your surveillance and monitoring for varroa. There's a difference between surveillance and monitoring. Surveillance is the checking for evidence that you might have varroa, and the monitoring is the actual washing that you do to do your count of how much varroa you do have. It's important that you get comfortable with that, because we can be like ostriches and stick our head in the sand. It's not going to get us anywhere. Varroa is advancing, and it's advancing pretty fast across Australia. I want to point out to you that we now have varroa considered established in New South Wales, where it's widespread, in Victoria, still with limited distribution, and in Queensland with limited distribution. And on the 4th of April, there was a detection in the ACT, in the Cohen district. So it's definitely advancing, and it's simply a matter of time before it gets here. We had a SAVIAC meeting on Friday, and it was my first real get back to business meeting, and I found it to be a bit of a rude awakening for me, because the two societies, being the BSSA and the SAAA, we aren't the only people who are part of SAVIAC. We also have the almond board, we have pear and apple growers, and then we bring in various experts in their field, environmental and biodiversity and so on an as needs basis to have informed us. Now, if you haven't read it yet, you can download the South Australian Transition to Management Plan off the PIRSA website. You can just Google it, you'll find it there, and you can read it. That's the body of work that we have done to say this is how South Australia is going to respond to varroa when it gets here. So I do suggest that you download that program and you read it so that you understand how we have advocated that varroa be treated, or how we respond in South Australia once varroa is here. But at this meeting on Friday, it was really important I sat and I just listened, because the main speakers was Tim Jackson from the Almond Board, and some of the large-scale commercial beekeepers that are also represented on that committee. And it's really, really important. What became so obvious to me is that there's a tension between upholding our biosecurity in South Australia and business continuity for the almond industry, but also for beekeepers. And this is what I learned in that meeting. Annually, South Australia needs between 60 and 80,000 hives for almond pollination every year. This year, reductions in floral resources and weakened hives is concerning, and might mean that we will need even more. Usually, there are 4 to 5 hives per hectare stocking rate, with each one of those hives having at least 8 frames of bees. So essentially, the almond pollination needs strong hives with 8 frames of bees in each hive and 5 hives per hectare. This year, every year, South Australia is short up to 10,000 hives. We don't have enough commercial beekeepers that send their bees to pollination to cover the need in South Australia, and we haven't had that. So traditionally, hives are brought over from Queensland and from Victoria. Now, I've just mentioned before, varroa is now endemic in New South Wales. It's widespread. It's definitely established in Victoria. It's established in Queensland. It's been detected in ACT. We are still going to need to bring hives across to meet the pollination needs of our almonds. Almond industry is worth $500 million, the South Australian almond industry, and therefore you can understand the tension that there is, that we need the hives in order to keep the pollination of our almonds going. Our almonds are exported, etc., etc. So it's a spiral, and there's a lot of livelihoods at stake. So why am I telling you all of this? It is because if you read the South Australian Transition to Management Plan, section 3.5 within that plan talks about at-risk commodities. And I'm going to just read it to you from the plan. at the time when we wrote this, we didn't think it was going to be so quick. We thought it was going to be about 3 years before we will see Varroa in South Australia. I'm praying that that is the case, but I'm also wise enough to know that if they are bringing hives across the border this almond season, it only takes one. This is what the plan says. Entry of high-risk apiary commodities, that's bees, colonies, queens, free of Varroa, from jurisdictions with established Varroa incursions. Note, South Australia would only enact Section 3.5, this is the one I'm reading, once a jurisdiction considers the establishment of Varroa to have occurred. Now we know it's established in 3 states. Once Victoria and or Queensland have established Varroa, and South Australia is still Varroa free, in order to maintain business continuity for apiary and pollination operations, South Australia will alter the entry requirements to allow entry of apiary commodities, including bees, colonies and queens, from apiary operations which have had no detection and no prior management or treatment for Varroa from jurisdictions where Varroa is established. So we're going to allow them to bring hives across the border from the states where it's established, but apiary operations seeking entry into South Australia, regardless of source jurisdiction, which are within 25 kilometre of a newly confirmed detection of Varroa, this is what PIRSA will do. Conduct an assessment of the entry application request, require surveillance sampling of hives within the apiary, utilising one of the approved sampling methods. If upon conducting the surveillance nil Varroa is detected, movement may be approved through the issuing of an entry permit by the Chief Inspector of Stock, with a requirement that further testing is to be undertaken at 30, 60 and 90-day intervals after returning to South Australia. If upon conducting this surveillance the presence of Varroa is detected, the beekeeper will need to comply with the notification, surveillance and treatment requirements of the relevant jurisdiction. And an important note, any entry made by an SA registered beekeeper into a jurisdiction post-establishment is conducted at that beekeeper's own risk, as repatriation provisions outlined in 3.4.1, and you'll have to read that yourself, will not apply, and subsequent entry into SA will be subject to standard entry permit requirements. And there's a little bit more. But the bottom line is, whilst PIRSA will be doing the testing and the assessments and all of that to minimise the risk of Varroa entering South Australia, it only takes one Varroa mite going undetected and we'll have it in South Australia. And that is why we cannot reiterate enough, you need to get familiar with monitoring your hives and also doing the surveillance. So, get sticky mats, do the drone comb, have an IPM strategy. If what I'm saying to you now is Greek to you, you need to make sure that you get along to some of the Varroa workshops. There will be a few more offered. And you need to do your own reading on Varroa and how to manage Varroa, because unless each beekeeper has an integrated pest management strategy on how you are going to deal with it in your hives, you might become a Varroa breeder rather than a beekeeper. So I cannot stress it enough. We need to become familiar with the surveillance and the monitoring techniques, so that once it eventually gets here, that's not the time to then start learning and going, what should I do? What do I do? How do I do this? If you've become comfortable with the processes now, then once we're having to treat and test, or test and treat because it's here, then you don't still have to learn how to do it. You will know how to do it. So that's the one thing. The other thing is also to just reinforce what Bob said as well. The more eyes there are looking for it, the sooner it's going to get detected. And I don't want anyone in this room to think that if you're the person that finds Varroa in your hive, that you're going to be singled out as a pariah of some sort. I actually think you will be regarded a hero, because it means you've been doing the right thing. Because it's coming. We're going to get it. It's going to come. And it doesn't matter who detects it first, we should all be looking. So I know I've got the violin out and maybe I've scared the bejesus out of you, but I just wanted to really, really stress the importance that Varroa is knocking on our doorstep. We cannot ignore it. We need to get comfortable with the fact that inevitably at some point it's going to be here. I'm hoping it's 3 years, but it could be August with almond pollination. It could be. It is what it is. There's no blame to be laid anywhere. It is what it is. We just need to make sure that we are smart beekeepers. Is that okay? Yeah? I'll move on. First thing I say when I come back, yeah, you're going to fire me, aren't you? All of you. Okay. Yes.
Are there geographic areas that we need to be aware of for almond?
That's a good question. The Riverland obviously is where a lot of the almond growers are, and then down in the southeast. Davide, can you?
Yeah, but it's not only almond. I mean, look, almond is definitely a substantial event with a high risk of spreading Varroa, but let's remember, it could be here. With the fact that we haven't found Varroa yet, doesn't mean that it's not in South Australia. We haven't detected it, but it could be anywhere. We have about 5,000 registered beekeepers and about 4,000 even more unregistered beekeepers, and we are also trying to reach those. So if one unregistered beekeeper has Varroa and has no idea what's going on in their hives, we will find it. Once we find it, it might be like very heavy. It might be everywhere already. So let's not assume that it's going to be in the riverland. It could be, it could be in the city as far as we know. It takes a mite in a radiator, like a bee in a radiator. The mite can live with that host for up to 5 days. So let's assume that it's already in South Australia. Let's learn as much as we can about it, especially from a treatment perspective, because it's not easy. It's not easy to manage. Integrated pest management, especially when it comes to mechanical and chemical control, it requires a lot of training.
Thank you. So there you go. It could already be here, so make sure that you are monitoring and testing. Okay, thank you. The next thing I want to talk about is the fruit fly bee management plan. So this is the second round that this document is being circulated. When it was released the first time, there was a very short time frame within which to give feedback, and PIRSA have now come back to us and requested that beekeepers review this document and see, have a read and see if you can provide feedback. So basically it aims to minimise the impact to managed beehives. Because when fruit fly is detected, obviously they need to spray for fruit fly. So if you notify PIRSA that you've got bees, then they know that they need to contact you before they spray, so you can move your hives or whatever the case may be. But it is relevant. So you might think, well, fruit fly, what's that got to do with me? But it's relevant because we as beekeepers, our bees will be affected by the spray that they use to treat fruit fly. And if we don't notify PIRSA that we have bees, they might unknowingly spray for fruit fly and you'll end up with a dead hive. So it's important. This document will be hitting your emails within the coming days. Please have a read of it and use the opportunity to provide feedback to Office at Bees. We will collate all the information we get back and submit that back to PIRSA. And there's a question at the back.
I'm in a red zone at the moment. This is the second time I've been in a red zone in the last 3 years. I live at Felixstowe. The current outbreak around here was at Firle. Unfortunately, and this stems, PIRSA actually use labour hire people to do the going round. I've spoken to them a number of times. In this current form, I've already seen them 3 times. The spray they use, now I sat on a committee that did the approval of the sprays. The sprays they use are supposed to dry for 2 hours before bees land on it. If they land on it before that, they pick it up on their feet and take it back to their hive. So you must be quite firm with them. However, the normal trap situation is quite safe in your own backyard, as it were. Now, I'm not being pessimistic about it, I'm already in a zone where they're spraying. They come around at the wrong, in my view, the wrong time, middle of the day or earlier, because they work from 9 until 3, right? The best time to spray this particular chemical, it's the same stuff they use up in the riverland, is actually from 4 o'clock onwards, when the foragers are back in the hive and not active. And that's a real problem, because they don't actually train their people properly on the spraying. And that's because they labour hire people and not people for personal insurance.
Thank you, Trevor. Well, there's feedback that can be given to that document that's been circulated, and if that feedback comes from enough people, they will take note of that. Let's hope. All right, thank you. One more. Just to give you a heads up to save the date, for those of you who may not know, the BSSA is now a member of the SAAA, and as such we get some of the benefits that the SAAA offers its members, including being able to attend their annual conference this year, which is being held on the 4th of July. It is a Friday, and it will be held at the Bridgeport Hotel in Murray Bridge. Usual fees to attend this conference is $150, but because we are members, we can access the conference for $120. They're still finalising speakers at this stage, and including some overseas speakers. I can't mention any names at the moment because they haven't been confirmed, but it looks to be a really good lineup of speakers for the conference. So please save the date. Registrations and further details will be available early in May. But I just wanted to flag that with you. And of course, we are very, very excited and thrilled to be able to have Stuart Anderson, who is the father of Cedar, is that his name? Cedar Anderson, from the Flow Hive. Stuart will be our guest speaker next month, so please come along to the meeting, tell your friends. It's open to anybody to come along and hear. And if you are a traditional Langstroth owner, you can still come along, because there will be a demonstration of the Flow Super Lifter, which is compatible with Langstroth hives. And I reckon this is a game changer. I've watched a little video clip on the Flow website, and I'm like, I've got to get me one of those, because I intend to keeping bees for quite a while, and I know I can't lift them anymore. I've got 2 questions. I'll be with you in a sec.
Will they donate one to the Bee Society for us?
Good question, Aphrodite. We have another question here.
Not a question. I have a lifter. I used it yesterday. It's everything they claim. Easy to fit, easy to use. Not one bee was killed. So no lifting of boxes. 15 minutes, hive inspected. I had a lot of honey too. So I have a flow hive. So easy to use.
There you go. There we've got it straight from the horse's mouth, someone who has a lifter. It's easy to use. It's everything they promise. It was used on a flow hive. I don't know how long it'll be before I can afford one, but I've got Langstroth hives, and I intend to get one and use it on my Langstroth hives. So please make sure that you mark it in your calendar. Come along to the May meeting, because not only is it about the demonstration of the Superflow lifter, it'll be your opportunity to ask questions of Stuart, not only about Flow Hive. I'm sure he'll be able to answer questions about general beekeeping as well. So do save that date. There's one more question right at the back.
Is it going to be streamed?
Yes, it will be streamed. Stuart will be streaming in. He's not going to be here in person. It's going to be live streamed into the room. So, but yes, it will be live streamed. So he will be speaking to us, and he'll be able to see us, and we'll be able to see and ask him questions right on the spot. So Barb's asking, will the meeting itself be streamed and available for viewing later? Yes. Okay. I think that's the last of the announcements. We have one more thing tonight. You will have received with your agenda a motion to adopt the BSSA Code of Conduct, version 1, which was issued on the 24th of March and establishes a framework for the expected conduct of all members. As you know, we've had a subcommittee working on the new constitution, and the Code of Conduct goes with that, because in the constitution document it spoke about a code of conduct for the management committee, but it was absolutely silent, the old constitution, on a general code of conduct for members. So that subcommittee has done the work to develop a code of conduct that applies to everybody, including our members, and with a higher level of responsibility for anyone who holds a role of officer in any way in the society. So you were given the opportunity to provide feedback. You were given a copy of the code of conduct. It was sent out to you. It was circulated again with the agenda. You had the opportunity to look at it. So tonight, Amanda, who is the project lead of that subcommittee, is putting forward a motion for that code of conduct to be adopted. So Amanda moves that. I need someone to second that. I have Barbara at the back is seconding the motion. And all in favour? Okay, can I see, is there anybody against this motion? Anyone abstaining? One abstaining. And can I just see again, all in favour? And it certainly is a majority, so that motion is now carried. And that does mean that this new code of conduct will come into play and will apply to everybody. And just in case you're wondering, everything that is in the old code of conduct, and by the way, just as an aside, the previous constitution was last updated or reviewed in its entirety in 2011. So it's well overdue for it to have had a complete overhaul. And that every one of those expected behaviours for the management committee have been incorporated into the new one. So not a lot has changed. It's just now not just committee members that have to behave, it's everybody has to behave a certain way. We just have to be nice to one another, really. It's a document that tells us how to do that.
Just worth saying, there is a copy of the code of conduct on the back table.
So if anybody hasn't read it yet, and you're thinking, what did I just vote for? There is a hard copy on the back table if you want to have a look. Or go back and check your email that had your agenda attached. It was included with that. I have one question here.
Thanks very much. Will the code of conduct be on the website? I mean, that would be the protocol.
It will be on the website. As you know, we are transitioning from Wild Apricot to Member Jungle as our, what do you call it? Our membership database, which forms the basis of our website. Once that's up and running, there's going to be a whole lot more on the website than is currently on our website. But yes, it will eventually be on the website. And I would like to think that we will have a hard copy at every meeting as well, because we're all going to have to become familiar with how we expect it to behave. Okay. Thank you. I think that is it for the night. Is there anything else left to be said, Krisha?
Well, she certainly arrived back with a flurry, haven't you? No, thank you, Mon, for all those bits and pieces. Probably the new people are going, crikey, do we want to get a hive? But yes, we do, and I think it's wonderful that we're all learning. I reckon I've been to 5 demonstrations of practical demonstrations, and I think I'll come down on Wednesday and do another one. I just don't think you can do too many tries with this Varroa thing, and as Mon said, get familiar with it before it comes. Horrible little thing. So, for, next, is that all now for our Ginger as such. Oh, here's mine over here. Yes, so we've had Ben. Perhaps, Barb, could we please have all the raffle bits and pieces up here? Does this cup belong to anybody? It was left here at the last meeting. Anyone recognise this cup? No? Okay. Michael has donated this. Serena's thought was that you could put your bucket, your honey bucket, on the top, and you could put your jars underneath, and then just, yes, decanter. So, thank you. Now, while we're setting up, it's just given away. Yes, happy to give it away. Now, John, would you like to come up and talk about your amazing looking thing here? I said, John, maybe you should talk about it because I don't quite know what it does.
I'm trying to find the person that talked about the bear claw some years ago. I don't think I see her in the room. So, not that I'm the expert, right? But for those that would like to try a bear claw, it's that is a steam generator, as in used to remove wallpaper, and it feeds this head, and you can use that to uncap your honey. So if anyone would like to try it, you're welcome. I've tried it, obviously. I've moved on. So it's available for people to try. Okay? It's fine. No, so there's no steam that gets on the cone. That just heats this element. Okay? So it just generates steam that goes through the head to make it hot. Okay? So anyone that would like to try it, you're welcome. And the hoses will all fit.
Thank you, John. Very interesting. Lots of pipes and things, tubes. No. Who donated this gorgeous thing here? Did anyone donate this? Oh, good man. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. So this is our new raffle thing. Put it up on the stand. Good idea, Simon. So it goes round and round and round. Ben, would you be our drawer of the raffles tonight, being our special speaker? Now, before we start with our raffles, I would like to thank Ollie, who has brought in these homemade native bee houses, nests. He worked with his father or father-in-law, father-in-law, as part of his rehabilitation to make bee houses. Well, yes, native bee houses. How many have you got? He's got about 50. So he's donated some for our raffles. So thank you, Ollie, very much. It's very kind. So we have our 3 lovely native bee houses. We have a queen little cage with a bee inside, pretend one, a wax embedder, another bee queen catcher, and Jennifer has donated some of her beautiful products that she makes. Jennifer doesn't come to the main meetings, but she's in the intermediate group, and what we all can't do without our hive tool. So those are our raffles for tonight. So Ben, you have to turn the handle. Oh.
I'm sorry, everybody. Just as you were getting excited, there are 2 things we need to do before we do the raffle, and one of them is I have another announcement to make, and then I'm going to ask Aphrodite to just come and give us a very quick talk about the library books. But as you know, the management committee of the society is made up of willing volunteers. And every year we have, at our AGM, we call for nominations, and we have people put their names forward to be part of the management committee, and off we go and do some work. And this year we got very excited because for the first time in a few years we had a full committee of 12 members, which was wonderful for the first few months. But then life happens, doesn't it? and people get other priorities and they have to move on and they have to rethink what keeps them busy. And so we've had a flurry of resignations from the management committee and subcommittees, and we've also had our website manager, due to work commitments, have to step back. Now that's Natalie, and some of you may know Natalie, but Natalie has quietly been working in the background, making sure that you get your emails, that notifications go out, that field day registrations happen, and a whole lot of other stuff that goes on in the background. Natalie is only doing that until the end of April. But because we are so reliant on technology nowadays, we really need another web manager. And so if you think that might be you, or you just want to know more about what it entails, please come and see me, or Tricia, or Bob. We, together with Simon, we're the Executive Management Committee. You can speak to any one of us about what that might entail, and we can give you more information. Another person who has resigned from the Management Committee and the subcommittee she was involved in is Kat Giblin. One of Kat's roles was that of our social media content creator. So for those of you who may not know, we have a Facebook presence, and Kat was making sure that there was always something being posted on a weekly basis from the society. Now Kat's no longer able to do that. Her career has gone off in a different direction too. So we are looking for someone who is savvy with Facebook and has got a couple of hours spare that can become our social media content creator. Once again, you can speak to Bob or Tricia or myself if you think that that might be you. There have been a couple of other resignations as well from the Management Committee, which I need to mention. Peter Mew and a young Archer, 3 Appleton, have also both resigned from the Management Committee. So we've got a couple of vacancies on the Management Committee. If you are interested, we've got 4 months to go before the next AGM. If you think, yeah, I'll dabble there, or I want to find out more, speak to Bob, Tricia, or me, and we can take it from there. Alternatively, if you're thinking, well, there's only 4 months to go before the next AGM, not this year, but I might be interested in putting my name forward for the next one, please speak to, guess who? Bob, Monica, or Tricia. All right, so I just wanted to say that, but please, the society cannot operate with the people who are willing to get their hands dirty. And we really do need people to become involved and to put yourself forward to help be part of the solution. So if you're thinking, well, maybe, I just need to know how much time it's going to take, or how much commitment it's going to take, please come and chat to us. We'd love to have a chat with you. Aphrodite, Acting Library Manager.
Hey, all I wanted to say was just to remind everyone that the loans of books from the BSSA Library are 1 month. Yes, we're happy for you to extend it, but if you don't communicate with us, we're going to assume you've either lost it or you want to buy it. So please, try and communicate with us. Definitely try and bring it back. And if you can't bring it back at a meeting, please get in touch with us. We'll work it out. We'll make arrangements to be able to pick it up. Because with the new Memory Jungle, we will have options for people to be able to reserve library books. So let's make sure we circulate the material that we all value. We buy it so that it can be circulated. Let's make sure we keep that happening. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. And then, finally, all right. So I presume it goes round and round. And like that, and then we go like that. Yeah. Orange U52 D Anthony. Oh, here he comes. Fantastic. Well done. So please take your pick. Wax and better. Good man. Oh, we trust you. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Good man. Well done. All right, here we go again. This is fun. This one's tough. All right. There we go. He's trying to get out. That's right. And next one, green Q70, Adrian. Thank you. Well done. What are you going to take, Adrian? No, yes. Oh, no. Oh, good. Queen catcher. Thank you. I told one of those there. This is great fun. Okay, off you go again. And L Grey, L58. Who is that? Oh, can you read things like that? Who's that, John? Russell? Oh, no, oh, it's Rossi, it's Marino. Thank you. He's pretty impressed with that. Thank you, Marino. Thank you. Yeah, I thought that would look really nice in your garden. Beautiful. Okay, go again. Do you want to do the round and round? Okay, next one. H15, Simon. Oh, good.
Simon H.
Yes, Simon H. Oh, yes. I thought these would be very popular. Right. And another one. Ah, John. L48. Yes, John. No. It's a nice surprise. He's lost his, so he's going to take that one. Good. This is such fun. And Adrian, do you want another one? Or are you happy with the one? You're happy? All right, off we go again. He's happy too. Thank you, Adrian. Oh, red, H28, Anne Smith. Well done, Anne. Anne has been very helpful in giving us ideas for the Constitution, so we thank you, Anne, for your feedback. What would you like?
Thank you.
Oh, you wanted that, yeah. Just as well he's got another 47 to bring in. Orange U48, Steve. White. Not yours, Mom. No. Oh, look, he's going to get something nice for his partner. That's great, isn't it? All natural, Steve. And here we go. Red H18, Sandra. Sandra's son Ryan, who's helping with all the stuff tonight, so that's good. Oh, what you're going to get. So you've got a queen catcher and you've got some of Jennifer's lovely pretties. Lovely pretties. Good. All right, lovely. Thank you. And the last one. Thank you, Ben. Oh, pink. V100. Oh no, what is that? It's a scribble. Who's got a pink one? Oh, John, it was your scribble. Righty. Oh, was it JB? Oh, JB. Oh, yeah, sort of is. All right, so that completes our meeting for tonight. Please feel free. Oh, if we could just stack the chairs against the walls in 6, no more than 6, please. Please stay for supper, more supper. Have some Easter